What's going on? What's going on? Tapping in, you know, been a little minute. Kind of separating my little uploading schedules. Life get a little hectic, you know what I'm saying? But I like to stay updating y'all with what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? What's going on with you though? Shit, in this video, man, throughout the days and stuff, I just be kind of like consuming stuff, reflecting, and I don't like to bring you no fluff or nothing like that. I just like to talk about stuff, how I'm feeling, and keep it congruent with what's going on and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times y'all relate. So really, with this one is it's kind of like when you kind of like going through a lot of this these shifts that's going on. Like, it's been a shift. Honestly, I can honestly say I feel like it's been a shift in the world. I can't really break down exactly what it is like that or what happened, but I know the energy or the vibration of the world shifted, I think. I don't know. And a lot of people probably feeling like lost right now, or kind of like not really knowing, your identity is like changed, or you probably feeling like, damn, who am I right now? Like, what I'm saying? Like, I went through this. I don't know if it just pertains to me, because I go through shifts. We all go through shifts, awakenings and stuff like that. But I kind of like, my identity, I think, really has changed a little bit, because I kind of like changed my lifestyle in my life a while back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of like grew up living a certain way, that's very different than how I live now. You know what I'm saying? My daily operations was like different. It was more, risk taking and, straight hustler mentality, street life, and I've shifted, over time. It took me, some people change their life early on in their 20s, late 20s, or, stuff like, I don't know, going through stuff and all of that. But it took me a long time to like kind of settle down, and even kind of like get a wifey, like, and have a family and stuff. It took me a long time. But, even then, I kind of still was going through some identity shifts, and I was hanging on to my past. And that's what it do. That's you hanging on to who yourself as, but really the energy within you trying to grow into something that maybe that you asked to be. You know what I mean? The something you asked to do in life or whatever, the energy in you trying to grow into that, but you might not be allowing it to. And I think a lot of this lost mentality, or just kind of like identity crisis, whatever you want to call it, social media play a part in that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you seeing so much that you influenced by so much, and it could be pulling you at different ways. Like, not even just like from a content creator, but like just regular shit, like, consuming the videos or whatever you're doing, or, the posts or whatever. So you influenced by different stuff, and different stuff is questioning your existence every day, probably, because you probably on social media every day, or YouTube or whatever, right? So different stuff questions your existence. Like, what, is what I'm doing cool or the right stuff for me? Or like, I want to live like that over here, or like, I need to start acting more like this, or whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? So much influence just hitting you you know what I'm saying? Pause. Like, you feel me? But it could affect your identity. And it's kind of like that, but it's kind of like that movie, Lion King, Simba. how he, ran away when he was young, lost his identity. You know what I'm saying? Didn't know who he was like that for real. And he just, this life in the jungle with these creatures became his new life, and that's who he was. He grew into that. And then, what was her name? Nyla. She came. The female lion came out there to look for him because he was the king. He was really the true king of the story. And she woke him up. Like, he knew, he remembered, but he just didn't have that identity no more. And she woke him back up to his true purpose. And even the monkey was a guide. Every story has these characters, and even in real life, a guide. The guide is supposed to hit you over the head like, hey man, you know who you are, what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? And that could play as a mentor, books, or whatever, courses you learn from, or whatever, right? Coaches. And then that Nyla character, that can be like a family member or a friend or even your spouse or whoever, kids or whoever, to just remind you like, hey man, this is your why. You know what I'm saying? And brought him back. Now he was back on his identity path, and the rest of the story. He went back to take control of his claim his throne, right? And the same thing, that movie is the same as The Matrix, which I like to always bring up. The Matrix 1, right? The first one. Neo was living in the world, you know what I'm saying, where this was his world, you know what I'm saying? But he had his intuition was like, something is not right in this world. Like, so he always had a different outlook. Like, he wanted to escape, or he just felt different. Something was off. And so he was a hacker, right? So he was always into the outer type shits of the world. And eventually he got found by Morpheus, and who shown him the real world. the Matrix that he was in, he showed him that wasn't the real world. So he brought him to the real world and woke him up, and that shocked him. You see what I'm saying? So this could happen when you wake up. They call you woke. When you learn, when you get more aware of the world, of what's going on. This, that's what they mean by being woke. So more awareness could shock you. And now you kind of like don't really, your identity starts to change, because you like, damn, I can't believe I was living like I was living. The stuff you was doing before, you like, damn, how was I even doing that? Like, because you woke more, you more aware now. Tell analogies of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? But this can have us going through like an identity crisis or whatever you want to call it. So, that's where you just gotta start. You got to start rebuilding now. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like trying to get back home, but home may be a different place now or whatever. But it's you don't have to be who you was, but it's coming from a place of realness, clarity. You get what I mean? You got to get that clarity moment, reality check, and that reality check wake you up. I remember when cause I ain't smoked weed in a long time, but I remember when I was still like, I grew up smoking weed since I was like 12, man, faithfully every day. But like, I remember I wasn't smoking no more, right? And then I would dabble back into it every now and then. But it was a point where I wasn't smoking for a while, and then I kind of was like, let me hit, I think it was 420. It was I forgot what year this was. I hit it, you know what I'm saying? And it just, when I started feeling high, I felt this feeling of like super awareness. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, whoa. How I was thinking before I hit the tree, I wasn't thinking like that no more. And it kind of like, because that's what the weed could do to you, though. It's kind of like a psychedelic. And it woke me up more. It was like, damn, okay, why was I thinking about that before? Like, you know what I'm saying? And Like, you know, like, man, I forgot what point I was gonna make with that. Think about that, but it just kind of like, sometimes you need that. And I'm not saying go hit the tree, but that's a point to prove that sometimes how you thinking, you just all, they call it in the weeds, right? You all in the weeds of your thoughts. And you gotta, you know how they call, you know how a garden that got hella weeds, they don't like, that's not good. Like, they use weed pullers or they weed killers, whatever. You know, they pulling weeds out. They don't want the weeds. You just want flowers and grass, whatever, right? That's how your mind can get full of weeds. So you all in the weeds. You need to cut that down. And, you know, there's a lot of practices on how to do that. Meditation, you know, getting clarity, going somewhere that feels, that's not normal in your day-to-day, getting a peaceful area or something, or whatever, right? Taking a walk, exercising, drinking more water, whatever the fuck. But you gotta get out the weeds in your mind. And then you gotta get to a point where you're seeing more clear, basically. And this is, and you being real with yourself, for real, like, you know. And that's how you could kind of like overcome a lot of the identity crisis, or the, you know, just not knowing what to do in life, what's the next step, all of that, man. The struggles that's natural in life, you know, as an adult. And let the downloads hit you. You know what I'm saying? Pause. But nah, I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I just want to tap in with y'all, man. Let me know how you feel in the comments. I'll holler in a minute.